Right, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ashton-Leatherland, and I'm here today to present on the Android Enterprise solution. I'm going to talk about the solution sets that are available within Android Enterprise, and then I'll go on to talk about which of the solution sets are available within Microsoft Intune, and give an indication on what's to come within the roadmap. Okay, so just a little bit about me. I've now worked in IT for 7 years. Quite an interesting job history. Immediately prior to that, I was a fisherman for 3.5 years on the trawlers. And then prior to that, I served for 7 years in the Royal Navy. In my job history, I've been a professional plate spinner, as I am within my current role in IT. Currently work at a company called Freebridge Community Housing. I'm the senior ICT team leader there. Primary focus is around device management with Microsoft Intune and Configuration Manager, but essentially I'm the primary contact of the organisation for the whole Microsoft stack. In my spare time, I like to try and keep fit, even though it doesn't look like that with the buttons on my shirt there at the top right. Have someone's eye out one day. I like to run. Multi-pack, absolutely. I like to run in my spare time. I ran the London Marathon in 2017. Never ever am I going to run a marathon again. And I completed the Great North Run this year up in Newcastle, which was okay. Okay, so that's enough about me. Just want to give a little bit of context as to where we are now with Android device management and some of the perceptions that are out there and some of the overall perception of the Android platform. So in order to manage things on devices, EMMs, like Intune, require access to various device management APIs. So that's to do things like turn off Bluetooth, disable the camera, and things like that. Now, originally, the Android operating system, within its source code, did not include these management APIs at all, unlike the equivalent iOS and Windows Phone platforms. As of Android 2.2, device admin APIs were introduced, but they were primarily designed to give apps additional privileges on a device at the system level, which, as you can appreciate, isn't ideal from a security perspective. Device admin is now termed in quite a lot of documentation as legacy enrollment, which Google actually has announced the deprecation of some of the device admin APIs as of Android 9 Pie, with the view to removing all of the APIs as of Android 10 Q, or whatever they decide to call it, Quality Street, something like that, I don't know. So this wasn't originally too much of an issue because Android is an open source platform, and OEMs were able to develop their own device management APIs on top of devices, which was fine, but EMM platforms like Intune then have to write their own code to support this new functionality, if they would at all. And Samsung, as an example, really kind of took hold of this. And to this day, they are by far the most common device that you find within the enterprise. And that's mainly due to the supportability within EMMs for their Knox APIs. So all this information has kind of led to a lack of support for some OEMs and a huge inconsistency in behavior across Android devices across the different OEMs. So Android Enterprise. So this came along as of Android 5.0, and Google's aim with this was to provide a base set of device management APIs as part of the operating system itself. The solution contains various solution sets that address the most common enterprise scenarios for devices. Unlike the legacy enrollment, so the device admin solution, that was kind of like one way of managing a device across different enterprise use cases. I'll come on to this a bit more shortly. So some other benefits of the Android Enterprise solution. Silent application deployment, which is leveraged through managed Google Play integration. Zero-touch enrollment, which was available as of Android 8 and newer. I'll discuss a bit more on this shortly. And the ability to bundle app configs with deployments has become much easier with Android Enterprise, particularly when we look at that with Intune shortly. Mandatory encryption is enforced by default when you enroll within Android Enterprise, which incidentally, just for those of you that weren't aware, as of Android 6, out of the box, encryption is enabled by default on devices. It became mandatory from Google. So we discussed these common enterprise scenarios previously, so just quickly run through them. So first and foremost, we've got employee-owned or BYOD devices, self-explanatory. Employee brings their own device into the organization. More often than not, there's an agreement and they're paid a subsistence which goes towards their telephone contract and increases productivity, usability, etc. But there are privacy concerns which could not be addressed with the device admin solution. We've then got the company-owned device scenario, self-explanatory. It's a company-owned device. You want to lock the damn thing down as much as you can and as much as you need to, because it's in some organizations that you can have problems with users downloading unwanted apps, etc. And then the third sort of common scenario, company-owned single-use device. So this is your kiosk. There's two kind of subcategories for this. So you've got a customer-facing kiosk, so like a tablet in a hotel room, okay. And then you've also got an employee-facing kiosk, so for the field service management engineers and such like. So I'm going to go on now to talk about the solution sets that are available within Android Enterprise. So the first one, the work profile solution. This was available as of Android 5.1. It's primarily designed for your BYOD scenarios. We'll have a little sort of demo of this shortly. When you enroll a work profile on a device, it provides distinct separation between the work apps and data and the personal apps and data, and you can control the flow between apps as you see fit. In this scenario, the organization only has full control of the work profile on the device and not the device itself, which if you was to decide to use the work profile solution in a company-owned scenario, there may be some challenges, which again I'll sort of talk about shortly. The work profile solution is privacy friendly. It addresses any privacy concerns within the wizard when you enroll a device. It's very transparent to the end user exactly what can and what can't be seen by the EMN tenant. So the next solution set is the fully managed device, available as of Android 5.0 and newer. This is where your company-owned device scenario, and it offers no ability to add any personal apps or data to this kind of device. So just a bit of terminology I'm going to be introducing over the next few slides, just in case you see it in any documentation anywhere. So this was formerly called COBO, which stands for Company-Owned Business Only. So we now have another solution available, 3 of 4. So this is fully managed with a work profile. Now this is only available as of Android 8.0 and newer. Again, it's in the company-owned scenario. This is where the device is fully managed, but it also has a work profile deployed to it, which allows the addition of personal apps and data to the device, and it enables you to scope different policies to both the personal profile and the work profile. This was previously called COPE, which stands for Company-Owned, Personally Enabled. The final solution set we have available is the fully managed single use. This was available as of Android 6 and newer. Again, it's a company-owned scenario. So this is where the device is fully managed and has either the Android Enterprise or a custom EMM kiosk solution deployed to it, which can present one or multiple apps. The apps have limited access to the underlying operating system on the device. This solution set is designed in scenarios where there is no user affinity. So if you wanted to deploy email profiles, et cetera, to the device, then this isn't the solution for that. This was formerly called COSU, stands for company-owned, single use. Okay, so we have four solution sets available. What's supported within Intune today? Well, we have the work profile solution, which was released initially, and we have dedicated device. Just want to have a chat about a few tips, what I've got sort of with my experience of working with these two solutions. So if you were to decide to deploy the work profile solution in a company-owned scenario, as we have at my current organisation, just have to be aware that there's no full factory reset available on the device. You can absolutely retire the device, which will mean that any company data within the work profile is removed, but there's no ability to fully carry out a factory reset. I mean, our view on this was the fact that, well, actually, all we're worried about is the company data on the device. We're not particularly worried about the hardware. We've rolled out Samsungs in the organisation. Sorry, I'm making everyone's ears bleed. So in order to get around this, we've created a Samsung account for each user. It's a bit of an admin overhead, but it just gives us the ability to carry out a factory reset if we needed to, but we haven't yet. Something else that was a little bit disappointing when testing this solution initially with TeamViewer, and that's the TeamViewer app is not supported for deployment within the work profile itself. So if you wanted to provide remote support, this is probably not the solution. Not yet, anyway. I'm in regular contact with TeamViewer to support to see if this is going to change. What I would say about the work profile solution, though, it is very effective at securing the company data. So moving on to some dedicated device tips. I've done a bit of testing with this solution. The major drawback on this for me was the names of the devices within the Intune portal. The only way that I've been able to see so far of identifying the devices by looking on the properties of it and doing it by the IMEI. But I suppose if you know, within our organisation, we're not going to be rolling out hundreds and hundreds of kiosk devices, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem for us. And the last thing I'd just like to talk about is TeamViewer is supported on this solution, works really well, and there's a great benefit of having an Android device, as you can fully remote control the device. So in the field service scenarios I mentioned earlier on, I think there's a lot of value in that. So Samsung Work Profile Unification. Wow. This really did give me some headaches. So something to be aware of is, as of Android 8, Samsung have announced that they have they've unified their Knox workspace solution with the Android Enterprise Work Profile solution. In a nutshell, what that has meant within our organisation is that we've got some Samsung devices on Android 7, some on 8.0, but not only that, there's 3 different user experiences that we're seeing on devices within the environment, which is not great. So it's just something to bear in mind if you are going to use the Samsung solution. There are extra steps that you need to take to make this effective. I'm not going to talk about that too much. I've got a blog post on it. If anyone's interested afterwards, wants to know a bit more information, just come and give me a shout and I'll talk through it with you. I could probably spend this half an hour talking about that, to be honest. Okay, so more terminology I just thought I'd mention, as it's actually, some of it is presented within the Intune portal when creating some of these configurations. The difference between device owner and profile owner, and actually profile owner is not reflected within the Intune portal, so it makes it a little bit more confusing. All that means is that is the term that is given to the agent that is deployed to the device when deployed within a work profile for profile owner and deployed on a fully managed device with device owner. That's simply all it is. I believe it's describing the permissions that the agent has over the device itself. Okay, so a bit of a demo. I haven't got the minerals for a live demo yet, but maybe in the future I will. So I've just done a recording of a work profile enrollment. I'm not sure if this is going to play. Okay, so on this device we've downloaded the company portal from the Google Play Store. So it's a requirement on a work profile device. Okay. User then authenticates with their details. Okay, so this demo is on a Huawei Mate 10 Pro because of that aforementioned issue with inconsistent experience with Samsungs. So we've got a wizard, user-driven, very transparent, tells the user exactly what can be seen from the device and what can't. Okay. Now, what's actually happened in the background now is the company portal app that's within the personal profile will close, and automatically, once it's been downloaded to the device, there'll be a managed company portal app that then launches and then re-authenticates and proceeds through the rest of the enrollment wizard. Okay, I'll show you shortly what I mean by managed. The app has a little icon on it to show you it's work managed. Okay, so it's at this point where the enrollment may take a little while. It's deploying all of the apps and configurations to the device. In a few seconds, you will see seamless app deployment to the device. Just happening at the top there within the notification bar. It's deploying the Outlook app. I think I'll come back in a second. Yep, there we go. So seamless app deployment, okay? As opposed to what is used to with device admin solution, that's just simply deep linking to the store. I'm going to try and pause this, but if this epically fails, is that paused? Excellent. So what's happened is it's created a nice little folder, labeled it work, okay, and place shortcuts to all of them apps within that folder. Again, just to remind you, this is on a Huawei Mate 10 Pro device, which is Android Oreo. You will not get the same experience from a Samsung device that's on Oreo. Right. And so what I've done here is I've just dragged down the Chrome app that's within the personal profile, and then the managed Chrome app, to show the kind of experience that is to be expected. This is my wife's phone, by the way. She was over the moon that I borrowed it for a couple of hours for the demos. So that's that. When you then launch the Chrome app within the managed profile, as you can see, my wife's favorite website, ASOS. Okay. So now when you launch the managed Chrome app, okay, we accept terms and do some bits and pieces. that's just showing the default web page. But what I've actually done with this is I've deployed some app config, which has created a folder with some managed bookmarks in, which the end user cannot delete. Okay, that's about as adventurous as I've got so far with it, but still pretty good all the same. Okay, there we go. Just access the managed bookmarks, and jobs are good. That's the device enrolled, pretty much. Apologies, I forgot about the Outlook app. And what I've done with this one, I've bundled some app config with the Outlook app. All the users needing to do this time is put the password in. I've actually deployed an app protection policy to this app, which prompts the user to set a PIN within that app, which they'll be prompted to input after a certain period of time or after the app has been closed completely. Yes, so just something to bear in mind as well, with the work profile device, you will need to deploy quite a few apps within that profile to facilitate things like email attachments, okay? So for example, if you want users to be able to listen to voicemails from their Skype, you need to sort of deploy an audio app within that profile. So it seems a little bit sort of cumbersome initially, but it is required, and it helps to provide the distinct separation between the personal and corporate data. Okay. So this just shows you within the Intune console the fact that you cannot. The option now isn't even presented to carry out a wipe on the device. Wipe in this context means factory reset. You can only retire it, which is kind of sort of adds to sometimes the privacy concerns that there was before with this solution. Just a very brief demo. I'm showing you what happens when a retire is carried out on a device. Okay, you can see all of the personal apps on the device there, and you've got as I mentioned before, the folder of work apps, and then the work managed Chrome app. Sorry, the company badged Chrome app is what I was supposed to say. Brief black screen on the device. All that information is removed. That includes any files that have been downloaded within the browser within that profile. So that's all gone without affecting the rest of the device. Now, just while I'm on the demo of a work profile solution, there's just something briefly I'd like to show you. And that's the concept of disabling work mode, which I just think is excellent. Don't know if anyone else is the same, but when you go on holiday, I like to try and disable my emails, because if you get an alert notifications pop up, it's just too easy to start getting involved into work, okay, and responding to emails. So what you can actually do with a work profile solution, I apologise if any ads pop up because I'm choosing the trial of this app. Apologies, I thought I'd already done this. It shouldn't take too much longer. There we go. Okay. So as you can see, I've got the company badged apps down the bottom there. Okay. So whenever I go on leave, in order to achieve that sort of work and home separation, what you can actually do is swoosh down from the top, a technical term, and then you see the little suitcase and work mode. Turn that off. That disables everything within that work profile. So when you're away on leave, there's no temptation to sort of carry out any work, and it grays out everything that's within that work profile. That's my favourite feature of the solution. Okay, so back to the slides. Okay, so I'm just going to go on to a dedicated device demo now with Microsoft Intune. Before I start, for the fully managed device solutions within Android Enterprise, there are various ways of provisioning the device. Obviously, there has to be a way of telling the EMM tenant or the Intune tenant in this case that the device is company owned, and the device will enroll from there. I'm not going to cover too many details in the various methods, but in this scenario, what I'm using is the QR code method. Okay. Within Intune, I probably should have done a little demo of this, but what you actually do is you create an enrollment profile for task. I can't remember the terminology now. For kiosk devices, that's right. Create an enrollment profile for kiosk devices, and within that enrollment profile, there's a QR code. So what I can do is multiple taps on the start screen. Apologies for the quality of the demo. I tried to repeat this, but wasn't successful. Damn autofocus was playing me up. So multiple taps on the screen. It will then download and install the QR reader. That's the QR code that I mentioned earlier, related to the enrollment profile. Then scan the QR code, and then pretty much accept the terms and start to set up the device. The device will now go through sort of various updates. It will download the Google Play Store. It will update Google services. This may take a few moments. I'll skip some of this. Pretty much the end result. Yeah, some more terms to accept. So there's to download in the Google Play Store. So yeah, as I mentioned, there's I was going to do a demo of the multiple app solution, the multiple app kiosk solution, which was quite good. But what I'm going to show you here is the single app kiosk, the single web browser. We have actually got a use case for this within our organisation at the moment. I'm currently trialling it with an iPad and a Samsung tablet. So with this, you can still deploy app config to the device. So what you'll see at the end here is I've just deployed the Chrome app. The Chrome app will then have the managed bookmarks on there. Any questions so far? I'll just wait for this to play out. So we have seamless app deployment again, the Google Chrome app. Accept the terms, don't sign into Chrome, and there we are. Same sort of thing before. I mean, you can fully lock down the notification bar and everything, but I didn't want to on this particular one. This particular example, as you can see as well, when you close the app, it will automatically launch again in this mode. That's pretty much it for kiosk mode. Okay, that'll do. Okay, so this is the experience that you see in the console for removing a dedicated device from management. As you can see, only the wipe option is available, so that will carry out a factory reset on the device. It's the only way to remove that type of device from management. Okay, so I mentioned earlier on zero-touch enrollment. Okay, so pretty much this is an equivalent to your autopilot. It's equivalent to your device enrollment program for iOS. This particular one is an Android Enterprise technology. It ultimately doesn't support any Samsung devices. Samsung have their own equivalent, which I'll talk about in the next slide. So with this, you have to purchase devices from an approved zero-touch, a Google zero-touch reseller, and the device must be from a supported OEM. They will then upload the details of the device to the Android Zero Touch portal. With this type of provision and method, only the reseller can upload the devices to the portal. There's absolutely no way for organizations to do that themselves. So this is available as of Android 8.0 and newer. It was available with Pixel 7.1 and newer. Pixel 1, that is, I believe. Also, just something to note here, devices that are to be supported for Zero Touch enrollment must be certified as Android Enterprise recommended. Again, that's not something I'm going to cover today, but essentially it's a certification program that Google are running to state that devices are fit for use in the enterprise, and you'll get the expected performance from the devices when they're enrolled. So I've just put a little bit in here about Samsung's equivalent solution, Knox Mobile Enrollment. Again, devices can be purchased through approved Samsung resellers. But in this scenario, you can actually provision devices yourself using something called the KDA or the Knox Deployment App. For Knox Mobile Enrollment, the devices require Knox version 2.4 and newer, so not all Samsung devices will be available for this. And an interesting note, at the moment within Microsoft Intune, there is no support for Android Enterprise enrolled devices with this solution. It only supports device admin. However, in all my testing initially, I could see there was issues, but it does work, but doesn't mean it's supported. So maybe we can ask our colleagues there something about that later on. Okay. Right, so the future, what can we expect to see? So in Intune, support for the fully managed device scenario or scenarios. There's probably a big question mark above the fully managed device with work profile solution. I'm only aware of now 2 EMMs that actually support that, which is the VMware Workspace ONE solution, which is very recent, and Mobile Iron Core. OEM config. Now, I'm going to try and explain this without messing it up. So OEM config is, let me go back a few steps. I talked earlier on about there's always a delay between OEMs implementing new functionality within their APIs and then EMMs supporting that functionality. It's because code has to be written, etc. If indeed EMMs will even support it at all. OEM config seeks to address that gap. What that essentially is the OEM. So an example of this so far is Sony has implemented some of this. The OEM will publish an OEM config supported app to the managed Google Play Store. Okay, and basically any additional OEM value for controlling functionality on devices is then delivered via the normal app config channels. What that means is faster exposure of new functionality from a particular OEM within the EMM solution. Does that make sense, everyone? Yeah. So the way I see it is instead of waiting for Intune to support a new piece of functionality and it be an option within the console, you would see a list displaying the available app configs for the OEM config app to deliver different pieces of functionality. What else can we expect to see? Well, as a result of initially Android Enterprise and OEM, if/when it's supported in Intune, maybe. Yeah. Is that private preview or public?
It'll be in, I believe it's in public by the end of the year. I'll have to double check. Either way, anyone who's interested in being a part of that, just let us know.
Yes, please. I'll come see you afterwards. Excellent. Thank you. Great. So yeah, so a more level playing field in the enterprise. What that kind of is alluding to is Samsung at the moment are way ahead of the curve of most OEMs. Okay, so I've got some excellent resources on here. I popped a blog at the top there, an Android SME. Jason Baton, his name is. He's been very helpful with some of the studying I've been doing in preparation for this presentation. His blog's up there. If you want to learn a bit more about Android Enterprise, OEM config, anything related to Android, I'd strongly suggest you go to his blog. Really, really useful. Twitter feed, I cannot emphasize enough how important my Twitter feed is to me. I literally only follow MVPs, the Intune team, etc. And for troubleshooting issues, for finding out information, I just find it so useful. Android Enterprise training. So there's an Android Enterprise certification available, which you can take for free online. Probably a good thing to do. Get a little qualification out of it. Android Enterprise Developer Docs. I regularly refer to them to keep up to speed with some of this terminology I've been talking about related to Android Enterprise. There's an excellent Microsoft Ignite recording that was by Chris Baldwin, who's the program manager, primarily focused on Android Enterprise at Microsoft. It's an hour and a quarter long. I've watched it twice. I'll probably watch it again because there's a lot of information in there. And more importantly, it will probably explain everything I've been explaining to you, but infinitely better. But I'd definitely recommend to head over to the Ignite recordings for that. And also the Intune docs. I watch these like a hawk for new functionality. Pretty much every day I'm within the Intune docs. So that's pretty much it. Thank you very much. My Twitter handle's at the bottom there. My blog web address is there, and my email address is there as well. Feel free to reach out to me if you've got any questions or comments. Thanks very much.